time to relax. So, we've got another little themed episode of Off the Clock for you this time because we are going to talk about movies. And I believe that you are about to tell us about not one, but two movies, aren't you?
That's right, because I like to give our viewers value for their money.
Mm-hmm.
So, not just one movie, two. But to make it kind of simple, it's Smile 1 and Smile 2.
Mm. Is that like thing one and thing two?
Exactly, except they're smiling.
Oh, okay. Nice. That wasn't a spoiler, was it?
Well, no, because if you knew anything about it or the advertising, the marketing thing, you already know it's a whole lot of smiling going on.
I've seen this creepy smiling, so I figure that
Yeah.
factors heavily into this experience.
Yeah, no, there won't be any spoilers in this one. I'll give a bit of background and stuff, but it was well it kind of like the Blair Witch Project. This one had one of those sort of, I don't know what you'd call it, uh, out of the box advertising
Oh, okay.
campaigns because they had people sitting behind home plate at baseball games or being televised with these. They just had that creepy smile.
Hmm.
So they must have auditioned these people and said, okay, you're gonna get you these tickets. You're just gonna stand there. So the camera would be there, and they'd have the shirt on that said "smile" or whatever, like, and they just had that weird, creepy
Hmm.
smile.
Yeah,
And I
nice.
guess they placed them everywhere, so there were people just showing up at all sorts of events and things with their smile.
Hmm.
But I had smile. Did you have a question? Sounded like you had
Well,
one.
I was just gonna say, so I've seen the marketing for this. I've seen it
Yeah.
pop up on streaming services. I'm definitely aware of what it is, but I know very little about it. So I'm kind of curious about like
Well,
what's
you're in
actually
luck, my
yeah.
friend.
Yeah, hit me with your best ultra bright
Yeah,
smile.
because I
Yeah.
had it on my to watch list for quite a while. And I don't know. It was like, yeah, whatever. Smile. It's kind of cute idea, but there's too many other things that I wanted to watch. So I always seem to skip over it. And then for some reason, I decided Smile 2 came out. And I thought,
Uh-huh.
it would be kind of a fun double bill. Maybe I'll see what the first one's like. So I didn't have a lot of expectations going in. And I'll tell you, pleasantly surprised
Hmm.
by these movies. They were
Okay.
actually really well done. One, I think, is they're so well acted. In both movies, the actors and actresses, all really good. The leads, especially good. So it wasn't those like throwaway kind of modelish actors that they do with horror movies oftentimes.
Mm-hmm.
Top notch acting in this one. Uh, both were super creepy. The smiles, I mean, those smiles,
As
it just,
advertised. Yeah.
as, yeah, so creepy. And because I guess that's why at first I kept asking, because I'm not really into gimmicky things.
Hmm.
And I guess their cool marketing actually
Worked against it
worked
in your
against on
case.
for
Yeah.
me kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but after like enjoying the first one, I didn't have high hopes for the second one. Because I was thinking, well, I don't know. I was so blown away by the first one, and I thought so much better than I thought it was going to be. I thought, well, the second one's going to be a bit of letdown, but I liked the second one even better
Oh,
than the first one,
wow.
which very seldom happens. Not
Yeah.
since like kind of Aliens kind of thing,
Oh, wow.
or Godfather. Not that they're
Right.
equal to those,
I get your meaning. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I the second one liked it even more. Uh, so I wrote a few notes to try to explain it, uh, give you a background. So there's
Hmm.
this therapist. uh, who is in a who works out of a psychiatric ward, and she meets this woman who's recently witnessed her professor kill himself. And she's ranting on and on about stuff. And of course, she's like, "No, you're in a safe place. You're in a safe place." Um, the the woman explains that the last thing he did before killing himself was smile. And ever since, she's been terrorized by an invisible entity who only appears as various eerily smiling people.
Okay.
So, of course, the therapist just thinks, she needs some kind of like medication
Hmm.
or whatever.
Breaking out the
Uh,
lithium like right off the bat. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so she doesn't take it all that seriously until the woman just offs herself right in front of the therapist
Mm.
while smiling.
Hmm.
So after some investigation, the therapist discovers that the curse is passed on by seeing a smiling person kill themselves
Okay.
in front of you, kind of thing.
This is sort of like a
So,
ring kind of situation where it's like if you
yeah,
see the tape, then you've got the curse. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Or like It Follows, where, if you
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
have
Yeah.
sex, something like that. So
Yeah.
there
Gotcha.
is, I guess, a trope now on that kind of thing. But this was,
Hmm.
as I said, well done. So, anyways, she desperately tries to find her way out of the situation.
Hmm.
And can't really say much more.
Yeah.
But lots of stuff happens. The special effects are really good.
Hmm.
The gore effects, the gags are really good,
Hmm.
and definitely worth a watch.
Yeah. Well, and it
Then we
seems
come to
based.
Yeah, go
Oh, sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead.
As I say, the second one starts off where the first one ends, which was actually a bit of a surprise to me because I saw the ads a bit on the second one and I knew kind of sort of roughly the plot line. So when it started and all of a sudden it's basically where it ended the first one, I thought, "Oh, this is interesting,"
Hmm.
and started watching this and things go bad fast. This
Hmm.
one, there's no waiting. And then we enter the pop star Sky Riley, who's preparing for her big comeback tour after a tragic accident.
Mm.
So then we meet her. So that's who basically I thought it was all going to be like about, which it is, but that's the beginning kind of it
Threw you off.
jump starts you in a different direction,
Oh, okay.
which kind of threw me off, but also really kind of intrigued me. But she's had addiction problems in the past and is trying to get over them, but a relapse brings her face to face with her ex-dealer who kills himself in front of her.
Mm.
And you can imagine what he was doing when he killed
Yeah,
himself.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Guess what? Things start going south real bad after after that, and it's a multi-layered plot. It really worked for me. The actress who plays Sky, whose name escapes me, was really good.
Mm.
Because you had the part where she was fighting the addiction, the whole life of being this like pop star, all the expectations that are on her, then
Hmm.
have being thrown into this like freak show. Um, uh, can't I, you know I can't really say too much because I
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah,
ruin any of the gags. I don't want to ruin the story,
yeah.
but it tied in the first one really well, the second one, but then it made this character, you know, strong, standalone, and then the story kind of veers off another crazy kind of one. And I found that the ending was very haunting.
Hmm.
And yeah, so both movies, big surprise. I mean, I knew they were popular,
Hmm.
but when it comes to horror stuff, I try not to read too much into them because I don't want to know an awful lot going in. Because
Hmm.
people tend to these days just talk about scams that we talked about in our, previous episode of Postmortem Report. People just go out and blab endings and everything now
Oh
on
yeah,
scams
yeah.
just to be dicks, I think. So I kind of just get a little bit of what I need to know, what's the general, and then just move on. I don't read too much into it. So
Yeah. I
I went
definitely have like
in.
a threshold that I'll get to with anything that I want to partake in, where it's like
Yeah,
there's a certain amount of information that I will accept, and then I don't want to hear anything past that because I don't want to have the experience ruined. Yeah.
yeah. But I would give them both thumbs up. Definitely worth checking out. They're not your cookie cutter um, characters, which was
Hmm.
always nice with horror. I mean, I'll like pretty well any horror because it's horror, but I appreciate it when it's like there's really good acting and they took the time to, put together a good plot. So
Hmm.
check it out. Smile 1 and 2.
Yeah,
I do a
nice.
terrible smile. Mine's
Yeah.
like mine just looks
You
more like
might
a
need to
grimace.
you might need to work on that.
Yeah, that's why I never smile in any of my pictures.
Yeah. Nice.
What about you? What have you watched?
So I actually watched something kind of accidentally. So we had talked previously on the show back when we did our StokerCon episode way back when about Jason Kravchuk's film He Never Died, which is that film he wrote and directed and did with Henry Rollins. And that one had been on my to watch list for a while, and I was very curious to see it. But then I saw his new movie pop up, which is actually something that probably would not have been on my radar otherwise, but I happen to follow him on social media. So I saw when his new movie got released as a Tubi original here in the US called Don't Mess with Grandma, which is sort of this weird hybrid black comedy slash horror slash action beat 'em up movie uh, that is kind of surprising, if only because of the fact that it works on so many different levels in a way that like doesn't even seem like it's plausible, but somehow he manages to pull it off and make all these different elements that you would think would not necessarily gel click in a way that I was actually kind of impressed by. Um, so the basic premise of this one is that it's this guy who's basically a Meals on Wheels delivery driver who has a grandmother who lives kind of out in the countryside that he takes care of, right? He goes to her every week or so and make sure she's doing all right and fixes stuff around her house and just basically like looks out for her, right? He's kind of like her caretaker. And turns out that, on one of his visits to go and do his normal chores of looking after her, a bunch of people show up and decide that they're going to try to rob her house, not knowing A, that her grandson is there, and B, that he is an ex-Army Ranger.
Uh-oh.
Yes. And so comedy and horror and beat 'em up action ensue in rapid succession, punctuated by these really kind of earnest, heartfelt, well acted moments of like genuine pathos and just humanity in a way that really, like I said, just really worked for me in this way that was, almost kind of shocking just because I think when you try to mix genres like that, there's so much potential for things to go sideways and for things to go wrong or come off, poorly. And so I really have to give him credit for pulling that off to the extent that he did and making it so all those different elements kind of get their time to shine and don't get in the way of or interfere with or hinder or sabotage any of the other elements in the process. And the other thing that's really, to me, kind of impressive about it is the fact that he does it in just like an hour and 20 minutes, right? This isn't even like a typical 90-minute horror film. This is even shorter than that, but he packs so much into that hour and 20 minutes that it's, again, kind of impressive. So I don't want to oversell it. Like, I'm not saying this is like a, must see, like drop everything you're doing kind of movie. But I think if you go into it kind of just with, reasonable, like normal expectations, I think you will be pleasantly surprised and thoroughly entertained. And I would definitely recommend like any fan of any of the aforementioned things. Like if you're a horror fan, if you're an action fan, if you like good, like, uh, stories like with a kind of human aspect to them and good interesting character interactions, there's going to be something in this movie that's going to click for you, I think.
Yeah. Well, he's a good writer and a good director from stuff I've seen because we were supposed to be discussing this movie together, yet once again, I can't get
Did you
access
get
to the
screwed
movie.
by international law?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, just like the other movie that you talked me into with Ariana,
Aniara, yeah.
Aniara.
Yeah.
I was all psyched for that. Apparently, can't watch that up here. And now this one, I was all ready to go. I had actually sat down and everything. I was prepping for it. I was like, I even got to the point where I was talking to my Rogers box because I have the voice activated thing. I was like saying the movie because I thought maybe it'd find it somewhere else,
Uh-huh.
even if it wasn't on one of my streaming. Nothing. It was like it didn't
Man.
even exist. Went to Tubi, typed it in,
Hmm.
nothing. Started
Now
different
that really
variations.
surprises me too, because this is branded as a Tubi
Yeah,
original, right? Like they
I know.
actually apparently like bankrolled this or had something to do with getting it, produced. So it's really shocking to me that they would not make it available like worldwide, right? Like why is
Yeah.
that a apparently US only thing? That's kind of surprising.
Well, maybe it's at the beginning,
Yeah, it
but
might be a limited time exclusive or something like that. Like maybe you guys will get it later.
yeah.
I know it's
So
doing pretty well here, though. I saw recently a list of like the top streamed movies, and I think it actually made that list uh, like the week it came out or the week after it came out. So I think it's actually done pretty well down here. So hopefully that'll encourage them to make it available elsewhere.
yeah, I'm sure they will. Because there's other. Trying to think of where I saw the other one. I don't know if it was on one of my streaming services or it was on Tubi, but I mean, if I saw the other one, this one I'm sure will be more widely released at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely worth a watch for sure, I would say. I actually ended up, sometimes there's certain movies or certain genres or certain types of movies that I have to like be a little bit selective about who I recommend them to, just because, they kind of tend to lean more towards a particular taste or particular sensibility. But I
Yeah,
think this is a movie that I really did not have much trouble recommending to like a pretty wide swath of my friends and peers and stuff like that. Like
yeah,
I was like able to pretty like universally recommend this one, which is kind of nice. Just because, like I say, it does touch on so many different things and do them all like so well that I think there's really going to be something there for almost any taste. I will say, the only kind of warning or caveat that I would put on it is if you're not a horror fan and you're not accustomed to like the gore aspects of horror, there's one scene in particular that might be a little bit much for some people, but even in that case, I think like it's such a brief scene that I don't think people would have too much trouble with it. But there's definitely a particular moment in the movie that very much validates its horror credentials to a large extent. I won't say any more so as not to spoil it.
There you go. Oh, there's three good movies for you guys to watch.
Hmm. Yep. So yeah, we'll get on out of here and give you guys a chance to do that. And we will see you all for the next episode of the Postmortem Report.
Have a great one. See you soon. Oh, witty. Yours is creepier than mine.